Among the many highlights of Spiel is Arctic Union. Some people that I come to visit every single year because they have some absolutely amazing ideas and some tremendous games. So, well, let's take a look and see exactly what they're getting up to this time. Welcome to an Arctic Union special edition of GMS Magazine at Spiel 2015. I am so thrilled at two levels of being now talking with Mr. Mark Warhol here because he is the American voice of Arctic Union, something that I've been desperate to see because I want to see these games in the United States being distributed and published over there. And the second level is because I'm in front of Black Hat, which is Mark, this is an incredible game. This is a seriously incredible game. Tell me a little bit about Black Hat.
So I will start with my first exposure, which was when I came to Spiel 2 years ago. And I looked at it and I said, I think that the combination of the trick-taking card mechanics with the board game was a very innovative and interesting combination that I had not seen before. And after you see many games, you value different and innovative mechanics and game concepts when you see it, and I thought this was one. So now we're through development. We have the product ready for sale. Thematically, we have our little black hat or other hat tokens here, and they represent like computer viruses or malware that are being inserted into an information technology system. So the system is represented by these locations on the board. We have things like internet cafes and public servers. So thematically, we are representing the progress of the malware working its way through the system. The game ends when one of these gets to the location here where it's able to access the critical data. The mechanics for moving the tokens here on the board are pretty conventional trick-taking mechanics, where the game will be played in rounds. At the beginning of the round, each player is dealt 10 cards, and then players begin to lead. Pretty typical, you can lead any number of cards as long as all the cards have the same value. And then players can either play a single card in, even if more than one is led, but if so they can't win, or they follow the lead. So normally, higher values win, like typical trick-taking games, but we also have a special Black Hat card that's in play in the game at all times. The effect of the Black Hat card, when it is played into a trick, instead of the highest value winning the trick, the lowest value wins the trick. The winner of the trick must move one of the tokens on the board. Normally those would be his own. However, there are 3 special locations of particular value on the board. And if an opponent has a token in one of those, instead of moving your own, you have the ability to move the opponent's position out of there. So what makes things different now, you'll see these different numbers of the board. There are times where you're going to be in a situation where you don't want to take tricks because you're going to move to a position that's less good on the board, and that's another twist on the normal trick-taking. Normal trick-taking is the more tricks I win, the better. Here, not necessarily so. Sometimes you really want to win a trick. Other times, I really don't want to win a trick. So you begin to think things through rather differently. Now, once a token gets to the end and the game is over, we look at the score. Here's another twist. The person that wins the game is not the one with the highest score, it's the lowest score. So now we see the values on the board here. We see 1s and -1s and 2s and 3s. So you can see when it comes time to score, which is at the end of every round, after all the tricks are played from a round, you want to have your tokens in the low value locations, not in the high value locations. In addition to the locations on the board and their scoring values, any cards that you have left in your hand after the round is over also score against you. So you want to try to move cards out of your hand as much as possible. The higher the value of the card for play, also the higher value for score. If we look at a typical card here, right here, we see a large number, The large number is the play value of the card. The smaller number is the score value. So that's pretty much the fundamentals of the game here. Again, we have positions on the board. The locations do matter because of their impact on scoring. We use a trick-taking card mechanic to move the tokens, but winning tricks is not always good. And so that combination gives it a little bit of a unique and different feel here.
Well, it just feels like there is a strategy to the trick taking, which is
Which is, I mean, always in trick-taking in past, it's been more, take the more the better. And suddenly, all of that is now different.
as you said, that's unique. I don't think I've seen that in another game before. That's amazing.
Let's talk about a couple other things where I think the game is interesting. The game comes, note, with some extra tiles here. So if you've become kind of used to the pattern on that's printed on the board as is, you can begin to overlay tiles, and now the board pattern changes. One of the ones you can overlay is this denial of service attack, and if I move a pawn here, that allows me to trigger a guard program that comes up and cleans up the system. So now at the end of every trick, it begins to move onto the board, and if it catches one of the invading malware programs, well, it destroys it and takes it off the board. So there's another little twist that, once you've mastered the basics, you can put some other unique features in.
That's mean.
There's a lot of viciousness in this board. So anyway, I encourage people to take a look at this. I thought it was a significant concept when I looked at it 2 years ago. I helped participate in the playtesting and development a bit, and I think it's a very, very solid product now.
I agree. It looks pretty amazing. And to be honest, coming from Timo Multimaki, the designer, it had to be pretty good because he thinks differently. That man thinks differently.
It's a very solid set of products so far from him, and I'm very fortunate to have had the chance to be associated and work with him a bit. So.
And now you can find it in the US. Whew! That's great news. That's fantastic news. So listeners, viewers, please, let's go for this. It's very well worth it. Thank you very much indeed, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.
And you too.